Welcome to Auto Off Topic. What's up, Brad?
Not too much, Andrew. How you doing?
We're doing this in video. This is new.
It is new. It's fancy. I'm not sure I
But,
like it. I should have combed my hair. Oh, he's got my haircut. I got quarantine hairstyle number 2 going on here.
It's just going to be an audio podcast anyway, so.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that we're doing it video way. However, we do have a couple of guests tonight. We've got, I want to welcome Lane and Warren from Drive Well Awesome and Radwood, and now they're going to chat with us about Rad For Sale, which is a new online car auction website that's coming up. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Can
Doing
I
great.
talk you into a beautiful 86 Starion?
Yeah.
86? Probably. You got one for sale on there?
Okay. Yeah.
We will someday. We're doing
I
good,
know there's
though.
going to be a Dodge Colt Turbo, so
It's pretty much the same
I'm
thing.
already
yeah.
interested.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for having us.
Different wheel drive, that's all.
It's an honor being on Auto Off Topic.
Yeah, first time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far.
We were on the D2A podcast
So if you want
for
to
a
go back
second.
to a few years ago to one of the first Radwoods we went to, you guys invited us on while you're doing a live recording, and we were like deer in headlights, and it was the worst experience of my life publicly. So that's the question,
one?
and we weren't ready at all. We were like,
Which one was
Second
it?
ever Radwood at the
Yep.
the dentist house, the porno house.
Yep.
And we were sitting around that big table. I remember, and I remember you guys being on it. And I think I mentioned, I don't know, one of us mentioned, the guys from Auto Off Topic are here, and yeah.
You handed us a live mic and asked me a question, and I was just like,
But you guys weren't the most awkward thing in the room because
oh, that's good.
Hoovy was behind us, remember he was kind of hanging over and not
I
saying
don't think
anything?
I knew who he was at the time.
I didn't either.
I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah, I just knew because he had bought Rick's Mercedes off of them. And Rick,
that's weird. I didn't.
Yeah, so Rick had invited him there, and he was just kind of hovering over Rick's shoulder and not saying anything.
Huh.
So you guys weren't that
That's new
awkward.
to me.
Oh, good. So we weren't memorable for being awkward, so I like it.
No.
Yeah.
That's
No,
good.
I just remember I did go outside.
We weren't memorable at all either, but that's beside the
Brian
point.
with his Corvette. So
Yeah, exactly.
I just saw that video was shared somewhere, maybe Cam or something, or maybe it was one of those 8 years ago this happened or however long ago.
Yeah.
It seems like 8 years ago. I remember you guys just were talking about it on your show last week about Brian working on the Corvette, so it was definitely a memory.
and then someone told me that you guys have Black Widows. There might be spiders in it, and I was like, all right, I'm out.
For sure. That thing was full of them.
Not really.
We called it the dump from Perron.
Yeah,
for sure. It was definitely a bad car, and I have some pretty bad cars.
we're gonna skip Lane and Warren's car history because if you don't know it, you should go listen to their Drive Well Awesome. But I will reveal one thing: Warren is a real diehard Mighty Max owner,
That's right.
ultimate pickup truck.
That's right.
That's how we chose Warren and Lane, because Warren has the Mitsubishi, so he fits right in.
Exactly. Yeah, I have a truck that was free, came with no keys, and I still own it. I drove it today. I know I need emotional support from you guys though, because there are times where I'm just I don't know where to go for parts. There's zero support. I mean, that's got to be better for a Starion, but definitely not for the damn Mighty Max. It's bleak.
I will tell you that there are lots of parts that cross over from all the Mitsubishis.
Yeah.
And when you were looking for a mirror, if you hadn't found one, I have a spare one here that is the same all the way back to the mid-70s that fits Colts up through those generation Mighty Maxes. So I had a mirror all ready to go for you, but you guys figured it out before I got a chance to tell you. So
I see. Is that what I see in the
I
background?
do know a lot, unfortunately, about Mighty Maxes.
Oh, okay, well, good. Then I know where to go.
No. There's no video on this. Remember, we can see videos, but there are no Mighty Max parts in the background. There's an empty shelf because we just moved into this house about 6 months ago. We haven't finished this final room yet, so this is the next step of the thing here. So there probably are Mitsubishi parts in here somewhere, but that's just every room of my house.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's totally normal. Anyway, so Mitsubishi owner and Porsche 944 owner here. So what brings up Rad For Sale? What's the reasoning here for Rad For Sale coming to fruition?
It's a good question.
That's a great question, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
you're hitting us with the hard ones, though.
Well, we always talked about this as an idea, but running one or two shows nationwide with a small group of people didn't leave a lot of time for stopping everything and starting that. I mean, Lane can speak more to this, but it's like bandwidth was so stretched thin. Just figuring out the next big show and the one after that was like pretty much all we could do. And then there was a global pandemic. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of that, or if did you get that in Arizona, or no? Okay.
I mean, I'm aware of it. I don't think most of the state is aware of it, but I do know it exists.
Yeah. So
depends where you are.
It was a little easier to sit back and kind of reevaluate, and then this was something we could actually sink our teeth into. So had a lot of interested people when we started talking about it, and here we are, less than a week out from launch.
Yeah, and I think we, obviously Bring a Trailer is like the big dog in this space. And as most people know, they've become like pretty inundated with cars, and a lot of people, we've had people hit us up like, oh, do you guys know anyone to bring a trailer? Because they didn't accept my car. There's kind of a lot of that going on. They're only picking the cream of the crop, and they're selling 1,400 cars a month and denying probably 5 times that. So there's definitely a need for more stuff, but we are obviously Radwood era, so 1980 to 1999 with a little crossover. And I think we just wanted to have, it's like with our brand, with the car shows, have this, and then we'll also be able to show off these cars at shows when we can have them. So we'll have like maybe a Rad For Sale corral, just, I don't know, kind of like bring the whole crew together. The Facebook page is pretty popular. The Rad For Sale like classified page that we have on Facebook is like, I mean, it probably has like 15 to 30 cars a day for sale. So there's definitely a want for this era of car auction side, I think.
Yeah, I see a lot of the stuff on the Radwood Facebook page gets posted even to the normal page, just Radwood era cars for sale all the time. So
yeah,
certainly plenty of market out there.
Yeah, I try to kick those off, but yeah, those do sneak by sometimes.
Yeah, well, I'm unfortunately one of the moderators on there as well, the regular Radwood group, Facebook group. Thanks to Bradley sucking me into that, but we definitely have quite a bit of them come through. So,
I mean, you actually probably like approve more posts and requests to be a member than anyone else. I think you're the number one.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm not the only one. Like
last time I checked, you were. So
okay.
When I checked the other day,
I'll slow down then because I don't think I need that distinction.
Well, we only have a few moderators, so but yeah, that's a weird one because you try to like weigh like what's happening there. If someone's just advertising a car, I try to like not let it on that page. But if they're like, if it's some random person, they're like, oh my god, look at this crazy thing, then you kind of want to let it slide, right?
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, so any risk to narrowing it to just 80s and 90s cars, or?
I mean, sure, you look at the intake.
I mean, our pool is smaller.
Yeah, you look at intake on a regular auction site like eBay or, Bring a Trailer, like Lane mentioned, and you go down the list and it's like, maybe 25%, 80s and 90s, 30%, but they're also getting inundated with cars from all eras, so they can't accept all the 80s and 90s, right? And maybe there's a place for more concentration where if you are a fan of Radwood and you don't really have a lot of interest in 55 Chevys and Deuce Coupes and brand new 911s, and you just want to go to that more curated page, it's the same as the shows. It's like we didn't know how popular they'd be, and then we have thousands of people interested, and Facebook page is popular, and so I think it's just about like curation, just like the shows. You go and see some cool cars that you might not see on any other site. So, but yeah, it will be interesting, and this is all we have our ideas of how it'll go, but kind of remains to be seen. So
So there's another auction site that I don't know if you want to mention it by name or not. May remain nameless at this point, which kind of is in the same focus, but doesn't have the strict hard rule. They say that they're more accessible than Bring a Trailer.
Yeah.
So that's 1980 through present, essentially.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Cars and Bids, obviously.
Sure.
So they started a few months ago, and I mean, funny, all of a sudden we're like, oh my god, another car auction site. Now there's one popping up every week, really.
Yeah, but, Hemmings does it now too, and
they've been doing it for a while. We'll see. Yeah,
it's a little different, but
yeah. So I know Cars and Bids is like 1980 through present day, so new cars. So they'll have like literally they'll have a 2008 Camry with 300,000 miles on their site. So it's kind of the opposite of curated. It is only curated in the sense that it's a 1980 is the first year of their oldest car you could list, and that's basically the curation. It seems like from what I've seen.
Yeah, they keep saying modern collector cars or modern enthusiast cars, right? So their cutoff is 80, and I do know that Doug DeMuro, whose site it is, has said that even if they're offered a gull wing Mercedes, they won't list it. They're not interested in anything older than 80. So I think they're going for more of a modern, and he's got a much younger audience. Like, I think, I've heard stats, but I think they're like, 19, 20-year-old is a big demographic for them. So modern stuff is probably easier to sell to that crowd. But yeah, a little different.
That probably has something to do with he's a YouTube personality, and that younger crowd is certainly drawn to a YouTube personality, whereas the Radwood crowd is it skews younger than a Boomer show, a 55 Chevy show, but at the same time, it's not
exactly.
It's not gonna be nobody who's 19 really, with the outliers.
There's outliers.
There's outliers,
and
but essentially, we're like a Boomer show. We're based on nostalgia. So, like I think our main demographic is around 35 to 50-year-olds is kind of like the meat. And then there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of people that are 25 to 35 as well.
Oh, yeah.
And, but I think the meat of it is 35 to 50, if you really had to break it down.
No surprise, the people who started the whole thing are in that age range.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And you guys and, everyone that
we
we've
kind of
age
ourselves, but yes, we are in our advanced 30s, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
Advanced 30s. I like that.
We're real good at being in our 30s. We're advanced.
Yeah.
For another month or so.
Yeah.
Anyway. So Cars and Bids, obviously we talked about Bring a Trailer. The whole shift to online auctions versus a Craigslist versus an Auto Trader magazine versus just going down to a specialty car dealer. What do you guys attribute that to? And what's exciting about it that's making you guys want to be part of it? Is it pandemic? Is it just a shift of the world? Is it everything's going on the internet now? I mean, you buy a new car pretty much from Carvana now too. It's the same thing. You don't buy a new car from the dealer on the street.
I think it's
everything online, but not trying to answer the question I just asked, but
I think you've just answered it. No, I would say that with Bring a Trailer doing it for 5 years or whatever, and then eBay Motors has been at it for years and years, and I think there's an acceptability now and trust that you can actually do this and not be burned, and I know Lane was probably an early adopter of buying cars or selling cars and buying cars on eBay. Not a lot of people do that, but now it's become much more acceptable and it's totally doable. So I think that's a big part of it. And I also think that, as we get closer with our phones and wanting to just look at stuff and hit buy it now, or, you don't want to have to drive to 3 hours away to the dealership to look at a car. You'd rather look at 140 photos and a video and say, yep, I'm buying it, and I mean, now there's, like you said, Carvana and I mean, all these sites that are kind of skewed towards that. So Yeah, and then obviously pandemic can't deny that it's sort of pushed everyone closer to these virtual, meetings that we're having like right now, and that goes with car sales or home buying or whatever it is, right? So, yeah, Lane, you have any thoughts?
Yeah. So to add on to that, I think that a lot of it just has to do with not so much eBay, because eBay is a place that you can get burned, and I've been burned selling cars there. Not really burned, just have to relist a car essentially.
Yeah, three and four times it seems like.
3 to 4 times, because buyers are just unresponsive, and I've even bought stuff on Craigslist. I bought some Fuchs wheels and sent some money and didn't get any Fuchs wheels before. So there's that, and of course it was Florida. You never buy anything from Florida. That's a life lesson you should all learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the one thing with an auction site like Rad For Sale is it is somewhat curated. So these people can't just go and list, on eBay or on Craigslist. I can go grab some pictures off the internet, list a thing that I don't own, and it's totally, and try and sell that item, right? And try and get someone to send me a deposit or whatever my scam is. On a site like ours, or like Bring a Trailer, or like Cars and Bids, any of these, it's a lot more work to get a car posted. So you have to send preliminary pictures and a whole description on the car to us. We have to look over that. We either say, yeah, this looks like something we want to sell, or sorry, we're not interested in this car at this time. And then they send us 100 or so additional photos. They take a picture of their pink slip or title or whatever, all your documents, send those all to us. So it's very, it's a lot more curated and a lot more, it's just all the work that goes into it. You're not going to have those scammers essentially. I think that gives the buyer a lot of trust, and also just the extensive photos, the fact that it's in an open forum where other people comment, people might even know said car. They comment, I saw this at a car show last week. It's so nice. I saw this at Radwood 2018 in Austin. Like, this car is killer, or, oh, that car had like major rust when I saw it, So
that was going to be a question too. Is it going to be an open forum like Bring a Trailer? Is it going to be back and forth? So that's excellent.
There will be, yes. For the good and bad, right? It's like,
No, 100%. It's good and bad. As somebody who I've had a car on Bring a Trailer, and there are some interesting comments that get put your way about a car that you know a lot about. So it certainly should be interesting to see how that goes on Rad For Sale.
And we're hoping to have a few features in the comment section that allow the cream to rise to the top. So rather than hunting through all the comments to get that, instead of, oh, my uncle used to own one of those, or I knew a friend in high school that's dad had one, and there's 500 of those comments, and then you get to the one that's like, you got to look at the subframe bolts in picture 14 because X, Y, and Z, right? So we're trying to make it a little bit more informative and visually appealing. So we hope it works. Yeah.
Is it going to be some kind of a rating system for comments like that?
Basically.
I guess like thumbs up, thumbs down, kind of bring them back to the top, almost like a Reddit page.
Upvotes.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. We can't divulge the secret sauce just yet, but yeah. When does this come out?
And then on top of cars.
Yeah.
Well, what have you guys come on just before it goes live, just so we could get maximum timing for you guys?
Yeah. And then we are going to be selling, on top of cars, we're going to be selling wheels and other car parts, as well as kind of like jackets or other Radwood era stuff. So stuff you would wear to our shows, or BMX bikes, mountain bikes of the era, stuff like that. So we're going to be memorabilia. We're going to be mixing that stuff in as well. So it's going to be kind of like your go-to spot for Radwood stuff, which I'm excited about, because I'm really excited about tying it into our shows. That's the most, that's a really exciting thing. If hopefully we're allowed to have shows this year, and
Right.
but I think it'll be really fun once we start having shows again to just have it all working together, and being able to promote the cars at the shows and the shows on the site, and vice versa.
What about stuff like 90s era model cars and diecast cars? Is that stuff going to be allowed too, or is it going to be just like the?
It depends.
Yeah, I think so. It's not like if you have a Hot Wheel, probably not. But like there's some high end. Like I don't think you would be interested in that either. It would have to be some. We're not gonna list something that's like $10 or something.
Right.
But if you have like a high end, diecast model that's $300, yeah, for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I was going to ask, like, is there other stuff like what Bring a Trailer has with like sniping protection or when you're bidding on cars?
Yep.
Like, how does that work if I were to bid on a car?
Yeah. I mean, essentially, if you're familiar with Bring a Trailer, it's a very similar concept. And I think that should be basically like the industry standard going forward. I don't know if it'll trickle back down to eBay, but it makes too much sense not to do that. So yeah, sniping protection for sure. And I think our rates, like our buyers' fees are reasonable compared to the industry standard, especially compared to like conventional auction houses. So I think, it'll basically make Rad For Sale a pretty attractive place if you're considering the other options, so yeah. And it's all about, like, when you mentioned the bid sniping protection stuff, it kind of all ties into like fairness and having the site be open for people to comment and educate people, and hoping that keeps people coming back and they're learning something, even if they're not bidding. But it's kind of a good community feel that way.
Are you able to discuss the pricing structure yet, or is that still kind of in the works? What's the?
No, we can just. I mean, it's pretty it's pretty standard. So it's 4.5% to the buyer, up to what, $4,500, I believe, right, or $5,000. I forget now. 4,500. Yeah. I can look it up right now, but yeah, 4,500. And then it is $85 for a standard listing, 45 for a no reserve listing, and then I believe it's 125 for a royalty listing. So kind of like the same as our shows. We're kind of like, parallel. So a royalty listing will have prominent. It's the same thing as a show. It has prominent, placement. So it's going to be at the top of the page in a carousel with a limited amount of cars, as well as in like the main feed. And then it'll also, the royalty cars also have guaranteed exposure on our social media feeds.
Excellent. So I have a little experience trying to sell a car on Bring a Trailer, and like you said, I was rejected at the time. Then they took my listing online and they featured it anyway, which is weird. But so
it was weird because I took the pictures of it, and then I also wrote the Craigslist ad for you, and I basically copped the Bring a Trailer style of writing.
Yeah.
Like the tone of it was just like Bring a Trailer, and then they just featured it on the blog anyways. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it was very strange.
What car was that, Brad?
What's that?
What car was that?
It was a 40,000 mile 78 Civic all original 2-door hatchback, silver over red. Cool. So it was two cars actually.
It was Accord, wasn't it?
Accord, not a Civic. Yeah, so 78 Accord. But anyway, so when I talked to the gentleman at Bring a Trailer when he rejected my auction, his big thing was, we'll list it for you at no reserve only. We won't let you put a reserve on it. Yeah. And I said, well, can I put a low reserve on it? Like, I had the car marketed for like $8,000, which was, a shot in the dark. I actually wound up selling it for $8,000. That's beside the point. But I wanted to at least put, a $4,000 or $5,000 reserve on it, because in my luck, nobody who wanted a low mile 78 Accord would have bid that week, and I would have got, $1,500 for my, car that I was into for $3,500 or so. Are you guys going to have the option of no reserve or reserve up to the lister, or is it going to be something that you're going to?
Yeah.
So I think we
Okay.
kind of have to go at it the same way they go at it. It's you kind of have to go at it like we want every car to sell, right?
course.
So, or at least you want your sell through rate to be as high as possible. So if someone comes to us with said Accord and they're like, yeah, so $20,000 reserve, we're like, no, sorry. They're like, well, one sold for that once. We're like, okay, well, what was that car? Oh, it had 10 miles on it. It was in the Honda Museum and da-da-da. And you're like, all right, well, yours has 200,000 miles on it and it's been repainted 5 times. And, so there is a lot of like judgment on our part. I mean, in a way, I just going through this, like thinking about it all, I sympathize for them a little bit, but I also sympathize for you in that, yeah, obviously, that car is going to get $4,000 all day long. So if you want the reserve to be 4,000, it's understandable. But yeah, so it's gonna basically work the same way. Where it's a judgment call. Maybe some cars will roll the dice and be like, that seems a little high, but there's no real comps, so let's go for it. It's a cool car,
Yeah, and that's the thing is I went to them with comps, and I had a couple of sedans and a couple of coupes, and I was like, oh, these cars did sell for, a ridiculous high 22 grand in similar condition. I was like, I'm not expecting that. I just wanted to have a little bit of protection, and they wouldn't offer it to me. So
yeah,
I was a little surprised by that, and it sounds like you might have a little bit of a similar thing, but you'll probably be a little more work with the customer.
Yeah,
I think so. I think also, you have to put yourself in their shoes where they're selling some high end stuff and a lot of stuff, and they're probably kind of like, you know what, we want this Accord to be a guaranteed sale at whatever price it is. Kind of like if we're putting any time into this, we want to make our money off of it. Like, I can kind of see like what their mindset is going into that. Not saying it's like the right way to go at it or anything like that, but you know what I'm saying. It's like,
yeah, of course,
yeah. So.
I mean, they put the same amount of work. I was just going to say we'll put the same amount of work into a car that sells for, $100,000, and it could be the same listing time and everything, all that ad write up and all that stuff for a car that sells for $1,000. So I guess they're looking at it like sell through rate is key, and that's the same way we would do it. But I think we're also not as particular with denying project cars. It seems like if there's a project car on Bring a Trailer, it's like, a barn find 356, $100,000 project car or something. It's not a lot of that 80s and 90s stuff trickling through there anymore, at least that I've seen. So, yeah.
Well, I'm interested to see, and I might have a car pretty ready to go early on for you guys. We'll see what happens. So,
nice,
sweet.
We'll see. Maybe depends on when I can get back to Massachusetts to get it ready, cleaned up, and ready to go.
That rusty Starion, let's do it.
No, not that one. It's actually a decent Saab. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
We'll see what happens, but I might be willing to try it out. We'll see how it goes.
Nice.
I picked up a 96 G20.
Yeah, I saw it. Looks nice.
Because that was actually my plan, is to sell on one of these sites. So. All right, we'll see how this goes, because I
that would be awesome.
A little bit and drive it a little bit, because I mean, I think even just from a person who wants to flip 1 or 2 cars a year, it seems like auctions are kind of the way to go, versus putting it on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace these days. Like especially if it's not like it was just like a boring commuter car, whatever. Yeah, you throw it on like Craigslist, throw it on Facebook Marketplace,
or apparently Cars and Bids.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I still had my WRX, I sold that a year ago on Facebook, I would have thrown that on like Cars and Bids or something, because it's, it's an 04. Yeah, it had 200K on it, but somebody would have paid me maybe $4,000 for it instead of $3,500. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think the one great thing about all these auctions is that you are getting exposure all over the country, the world. You're getting. Your audience is so broad, where Craigslist, you have to get these you have to get these other apps like BRZO, which isn't even allowed, doesn't work anymore, in order to search all regions of the country. But with this, you could I don't have to type in the region or anything like that. I could search the whole country, and I know that shipping is $1,200 from the East Coast, and then it kind of goes down from there, right? Up down to $400 or something. So it just broadens your search. It broadens as a seller, it broadens your exposure of, said vehicle. And I just think back about the last car. I think the last car I sold was my 2000. I don't even know what year that thing was. Anyways, Acura TSX with a 6-speed manual, and it was a really nice car, 100,000 miles. And I sold it locally, and I sold it for nothing. And a lot of that was just there wasn't interested parties locally. I think I would have done very well if I did put that on an auction. I probably would have got it at least 50% more than I got for the car.
Yeah.
Excellent. So there's a lot of these auction sites popping up now. You guys obviously are the latest one, which is awesome, and congratulations. But do you think there's a limit to what's going to happen? Because I think the problem I'm going to see is, every morning I get an email from Bring a Trailer. You get an email from Cars and Bids. I get an email from Hemmings. Now I'm probably going to get an email from Rad For Sale. Eventually there's a mass saturation. And eventually the prices have gone up. Everybody says, the Bring a Trailer effect or the Radwood effect. The price is going to come down because of this, because people aren't going to pay attention to all 4 sites, you think?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I do think it will get oversaturated. I think that's a given. But I think, for example, I mean, the only reason we started this because we know we have a lot going for us in this space, right? Radwood has become synonymous with the 80s and 90s. I think, a lot of magazines, like all these places, people refer to it as the Radwood era of cars. So we have this big, momentum and behind us, and we do have a lot of, we have a big following, a lot of people that enjoy the whole Radwood thing. So that puts us, and it is very specific to that area. So, you'll have people are going to follow us, and it's a pretty cool thing because, a lot of times on Bring a Trailer, people will complain, like, why would this car be up there? Why is this car up on Bring a Trailer? I thought you guys sold, good stuff. And it's some guy that is into whatever he's into, and he thinks that a 98 Civic Si is a piece of shit, right? So, with us, it's very curated, and everyone that follows us will be into that period of cars. So I don't know. I think we have a good thing going for us in that respect.
Excellent. Yeah, it's be important not to get lost in the sphere of the oncoming online auctions.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you need a focus at this point.
I was just going to say, I think you need a focus, and you have to be broad, a little broad, 80s and 90s. We're talking about 2 decades and all makes and models. And then you have, there's auction coming out that's a single make. And we were joking, is there going to be just an Integra auction site at some point? Is there just going to be Mighty Max only, And I don't know if it'll get that small.
That's be our idea now. That's us.
Yeah, Auto Off Topic brings you Mighty Max Daily.
Reserve is $1.
Exactly.
Crappy Mitsubishi's only.
Exactly. It's just
there's one auction site called there's a Porsche only auction site actually, and you can kind of see that. But even they supposedly are off now selling other cars.
Yeah.
Which kind of they F themselves by calling themselves, I think it's called P-Car Market.
P-Car Market.
Yeah. You're like, okay, cool,
Porsche's
but now you're selling
only.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could be, it's good to narrow your audience, but you don't want to be too narrow. So, we're doing what we know and what we're known for, and I think I don't know. I think it'll be appealing to a lot of people that go to our shows and and like this whole era of cars that is up and coming. And I don't know. You could kind of hate us too for maybe driving values, but the reality is that's going to happen regardlardless. It's
it was happening before the show.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason we did it, right? It's not, it's it's because we like these cars and you guys like these cars, and everyone
also,
likes this
A lot of our
era.
listeners like these cars.
Yeah, and you're also validating people's choices in these vehicles, right? So even if you don't own an NSX or a higher dollar Radwood era car, there's a guy in a Nissan Stanza wagon that's just waving his flag right now and has nowhere to go with it. He would be put in the same position you were with your Accord, where it's no reserve or nothing on Bring a Trailer, or not accepted at all.
Right.
And he may not find the people on Bring a Trailer that are excited about that, as they've gotten a little bit more high end and pushing towards the classics and some big dollar cars, that it turns some people off. So why not do something that we know will work and people are passionate about? So yeah, hopefully we'll see a Nissan Stanza wagon. I'm not going to preview too much.
Is there any plan to integrate it? Yeah.
Integrate
There are
it
a few
how?
people that have them, so I'm curious which one of the two it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
2 people have them,
Exactly.
or at least
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
both know. Yeah.
Two
Yeah.
people in the sphere.
Yeah.
So is there going to be any kind of plan to integrate this to Radwood shows? Like if you buy a car from Rad for auctions, are you going to have like a special, hey,
Like
this car
I was
purchased
saying.
at Rad auctions?
Yeah, we want to have a corral for Rad for Sale cars, and we'll probably split that into cars that are currently on the site or coming to the site, and we'll have a special place for cars that were sold on Rad for Sale as well.
Okay, cool.
So, and that will be, we haven't figured anything. We haven't had any shows because of the pandemic,
Of course.
unfortunately. So it's been almost a year, but I think we're going to offer some deals and stuff like that for people coming to our shows that buy cars and stuff,
Yeah,
So,
I think
Yeah.
tomorrow is a year for Austin, isn't it?
God,
think
and that
it
was the
is.
last show.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
And they just had obviously
Wow.
the crazy weather. Like if we had done it a year to the date, it would have been
Yeah, no kidding.
terrible. Like, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was leap year. It was like 29th, right? Wasn't
Oh
it leap
yeah. Maybe
You're right, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, leap year feels like a real '90s thing.
It is
Yeah.
in Radwood.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. That was the last like real event that probably most of us went to. So.
Well, no, we had a rally. For
Wait, so
driving
did you
around
guys both
the
go to that?
weekend. Yeah, we had a rally the weekend before
No,
lockdown.
we didn't both go. I made it to Austin last year.
You did, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you did one more
Oh,
event
Brad,
after
of
that.
course. Brad, of course, I remember you went. You were because you were with Ron, and you guys were like breaking down the whole way there, basically.
Listen, don't talk bad about our Mitsubishis by telling true stories. That's not.
Hey,
that's
it
not
made it
fair.
though, and it made it back. So.
It did. It did.
It did.
And
yeah.
somehow that car is still going. So
Yeah.
Somehow we wound up fixing the broken steering all the way there, and then I had to fix a broken generator at the show, and then I had to fix the broken steering on the way
Oh
home.
yeah,
and it was a whole
dude,
mess.
Brad. We have to give Brad tons of props for that.
I know.
I think I mentioned on the podcast before, but I mean, Brad saved the day. All of a sudden, we had no music on one of the wings of the Radwood show, and it turned out a bolt came undone on this Honda generator, and all the oil came out, and Brad went running for oil and did the whole thing. So
That's right, dude.
Thankfully, I spent a couple of years working at a Honda generator dealer, so I knew what was up.
Wow.
Strictly
Yeah.
luck.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So
dumb
back to the car corral idea. I like that because if you've got ones that are currently for sale, and you can tell people like, "Oh, hey, you're local to our next show. Can you
Mhm.
bring the car?"
Yeah.
And then telling people that this car is currently for sale, like you can physically look at it in person now
Yep.
and talk to the owner, and then whip out your phone and put a bid on it, which is that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really like that idea.
And upcoming auctions as well. We're thinking. So if we have auctions scheduled for, let's say, 3 weeks out, and we know, there's 10 cars in that area or whatever it is, we'll have them come, and then, we haven't ironed any of this stuff out, but, we'll probably make an old school for sale sign type thing, like our logo is modeled after. And we'll have a little thing like available or on cars and, on Rad for Sale now or coming soon to Rad for Sale, on this date. So you'll put that on your windshield, old school style. And I think it could be a cool little area. And obviously those cars will get in for free and everything. So
Well, they've already paid their money to sell the car, so there you go.
Exactly.
exactly.
That's their entry fee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So time the auction to end at the show, and the different person can drive it home, right?
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of work. Don't.
So that is an idea, actually, is to, we've always wanted to end like an auction or two. I mean, we had planned this with another auction site in the past of ending a couple auctions live at a Radwood, and we'd love to do that as well.
Well, I remember when Matt Farris sold his Mustang, he did the live podcast during the final bids of it. It was actually kind of exciting to. I had no horse in the race, but it was neat to watch somebody else get excited about their car going up in value at the end of the auction. So I can see that being kind of a neat activity for everybody to be involved at.
Yeah, it could be fun. And if you have a live bidder there or something, or a couple, could be really neat.
I grew up doing auctions. My father used to run an auction in New England, a vintage car auction once a year. And it was on the lines of like a Mecum or Barrett Jackson, but it was a company that used to be around called Cruise Auctions. Cruise with a K.
Cruise with a K.
Yep. Yeah. So we used to run one of those every year up until Cruise went under sometime in the early 2000s. So I have a lot of experience with that, actually kind of the live auction at the time. I used to drive the cars through. It was real neat.
Sweet.
So it's kind of neat to see the way the whole industry is shifting to this new way of doing auctions and having to see these companies like Mecum and Barrett Jackson kind of like scramble and figure out how to do their own online auctions but still keeping their live auctions happening. So it's a neat place.
I think it would be cool to combine the two, meaning a live finish to an auction, because that there is energy in that and it's exciting, but the virtual auction, you will be far more informed about the car based on comments and just actually taking in the photos and stuff. People buy cars at auction in person just based on a few margaritas and a happy a buddy who's riling them up. So I think if you could combine like being really informed and being able to go see the car and then also having like a live finish to an auction would be super fun. So we'll see how we can make that happen. I don't know. It's a timing thing. We barely have time to like drink water at a Radwood, so I don't know how we'll like put on an auction as well, but we'll figure it out.
Well, have somebody from the audience volunteer. I'm sure they will.
Exactly. All right, you're it.
I'll tell you, I was buying ones just for work at like a regular old like used car auction, like in Odessa.
Yeah.
And even that's like exciting. You're just standing there like, because there's like 100 people.
I know.
And cars go like every 30 seconds, and you're like trying to get this like Chevy pickup truck that's going for like 15 grand, 20 grand. You're like, and then you're like, I guess I'll get another one. Like,
totally.
Because you just go to, then you like keep trying to keep track of all the lanes. There's like 10 lanes of cars.
Yep.
And even just like that was kind of exciting. It was weird.
Oh, totally.
And then it was funny. There was one day I told them I was going to spend like 45 grand. And then like nobody, I think, told accounting. Like I wrote this check and I guess it like bounced afterwards.
Oh no.
That's no good.
Like, oops.
So Andrew's not allowed to buy cars on Rad for sale because he bounces checks, apparently.
Yeah,
no, this is a company check.
We don't take checks, but
Oh, actually, it doesn't have anything to do with Rad for Sale, but Andrew, I know you were interested in like a Peugeot. I think it was a 206 or something.
Yeah.
What did that end up going for?
Oh, that went for like 15 grand.
Oh, wow, Brad, you were so far off.
I was way off, yeah. The car was not nice enough.
I thought it was going to be like 10, maybe. I didn't think it was that nice.
Yeah, you said
nice enough.
I think you said 12, and then Brad said like 8.
I said less than 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
It was like
I don't know Peugeot values.
Yeah.
It was like $700-800, and then the next day, like 12 hours later, it was doubled. So
wow.
So it was pretty great. And I didn't think it was that nice of a car. It was a nice car, like a really good driver, but not like a nice car.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Well, it's
I have a thing about, Brad and I talk about it all the time. We have a thing about like there's like super collectible cars, and then there's like driver level cars. Yeah. And we're more into the driver level cars because like, the S2000 that sold the other week on Bring a Trailer for $112,000.
You can't drive it.
1,000 miles. You can't drive it because it'll just go down in value instantly.
Yeah, what do you do with that? And
didn't it have less than 1,000 miles?
Yeah, 978 miles.
Yeah.
It was like delivery mileage.
Yeah.
And that's a car that is meant to be driven, on a track, basically. It's like
such a driver's car.
It's the only reason it's made. It's pretty, I guess, but it's meant as a driver's car.
For $110,000, there are much prettier cars in the market to look at.
Or
Yeah.
like 10, Mighty Maxes.
And the what is it? The
112 Mighty Maxes.
Exactly.
and what was that one? Like it's the CR. What's
It was a
the
CR,
one?
yeah.
So those are the least attractive. If you're looking
Yeah,
at
they
it
have
as like
weird
that.
like boy racer body kits.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand it. Well, that's,
Yeah.
that's kind
But
of the
they're
thing we always
really
say.
good driving cars.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's one
they
of
rev
the
to
things-
$9,000, but they don't rev at all if they just sit.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I'm excited about stuff like Rad For Sale is, I'm a big proponent of buying the car that you want, not the car the internet tells you want. So that's kind of what that car is. That's some car collector said, somebody said S2000s are going up. I'm going to buy the next low mile one that comes for sale.
Totally.
Somebody said a 911 is the best car to buy because it's going to be worth more money when I go to sell it. There's no passion behind that. There's no, hey, I have this 1984 Mitsubishi Starion because I love the stupid car. I have a 78 Colt because I love the car.
Exactly.
I'm a big proponent of buying the car that makes you happy, not the car that you think makes the internet happy. And Radwood era is full of that stuff. So that's
totally
for sure.
I mean,
I don't understand.
Yeah,
I will admit that I don't understand half of it. Like, I don't understand the love for any K car really. Although I say that, and then I wrote the most glowing review of a Sebring convertible. So
no,
Sebring.
Dodge 600 convertible. It's not. It's not
so
Dodge
LeBaron,
600. Yes. LeBaron.
Yeah.
So
It's not a Sebring. There's no glowing review of a
no,
Sebring.
I was going to say
No.
stop right there.
But
yeah,
but that was
Lane, you
a glowing review of a rental that I got for free, not something or maybe I would spend $800 on. But some people love like a their Plymouth Aries or whatever.
collector values are kind of like
the whole Radwood thing. It's just
yeah. I was going to say collector values are kind of like people who armchair quarterback 0 to 60 times, or they like the fastest car just because it's the fastest. And there's more to it than that. It's engagement and the people who you're surrounding yourself with, Mighty Max owners. And I think Radwood in general is like awesome for that because
lots of crackheads.
Exactly. Did I tell you I found a syringe in mine?
I'm not surprised.
unused, like just a spare syringe, just when you can't find a good one. Yeah.
Was it in the bed or in the cab?
In the cab, in like a
cab.
secret little compartment. Yeah. So I got that going for me.
Oh yeah, didn't your floor have a hole in it?
Yeah. Yeah, because they tried to replace the clutch by cutting a hole in the floor from the inside. You're not going to go underneath the car. You want to chop through to get to the good stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I know a guy that like put a fuel tank in his car and he just cut a hole so he could like clamp it together.
Well,
Somebody's talking about me right now, but that's okay. It's only because that shell is going in the trash. That's beside the point. I did do that. Yes.
I listened to that story. I'm like, man, Brad is you putting that much work into a temporary fix for a car that you're gonna like the body you're gonna scrap. It's like it's hard for me to wrap my head around. But
You're in awe.
I want to make sure everything works.
Yeah.
I want to make sure everything works properly before I transfer everything over is kind of the whole thing. I want to have a running, driving, usable vehicle just to swap all the good parts over. That's
over to the new body, right?
Yeah. So, thanks to a Radwood veteran, actually, for giving me a solid shell. So,
oh, cool.
The gentleman was at the LA show with the black Plymouth Arrow, and he went to the next LA show with the Mitsubishi Galant Lambada, not Lambada, Galant Sigma, the big silver front-wheel drive one.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Moises is his name. I'm sure you don't remember the car because it's very unremarkable to a non-Mitsubishi person, but it's all good.
We had a really nice one of those at...
he was in LA, the last LA one.
Yeah, the same kind of car that was in Atlanta, Warren. The one in Atlanta was Arnie Tolman's car.
Yeah.
And then the one in California was Moisey's car. But yeah.
Okay.
Same kind of
Those
car.
are cool.
Anyway,
Those are
yeah,
cool.
big ups to him for giving me a solid Arizona shell to transfer.
It's a Radwood miracle.
To be fair,
Yeah.
the cutting the hole in the floor to replace the fuel pump at first was my idea, because a year ago we were doing it and the car is so rusty. I was like, I don't want to take the tank out because I'm afraid it's not going to go back in. So let's just cut the floor pan out in the back, just enough to get the fuel pump out, because you knew you were going to kind of cut it up anyways.
Yeah.
So
I could do that.
The plan at that point was to make it drivable enough to drive to Radwood, Boston, and then cross country in. And it did not happen, obviously. So
Yeah, I was gonna say you took the.
I was planning on doing both. Naomi and I were going to drive both cars across country.
Oh, okay.
And that didn't happen. So, unfortunately.
Cool.
So I got the Eclipse done just in time for Radwood, Boston, and drove that out here instead. So.
And you sold the Eclipse, right?
Nope.
Oh, for some reason, were you selling it or?
Nope.
No. Oh, okay.
You were thinking about it.
I thought about it, but I never.
Oh, maybe you were thinking
I never
about
publicly vocalized it though. So you're in some weird headspace. And
maybe,
I don't like it.
Are you sure you didn't mention it on your podcast or something?
You definitely mentioned it.
Oh, maybe I did in the podcast. Yeah. I forget that I tell my entire life story.
I know. I was going to say. I thought about it.
Do you find with you? So you guys do a podcast too. Like sometimes I'll say stuff in the podcast, and then people who listen will say it back to you, and you're like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
All the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Other people do it at a local car show, and you're like, "Oh, you're Brad from Off Topic," and I'm like, "No, I'm just Brad. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, they'll answer
I'm not
questions.
important at all. Please walk away."
Yeah, they'll answer questions that I had like months ago. It's like, oh, the speakers you need are the X4247s, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean,
You're like, what
appreciate
question are you answering right now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I appreciate that people are listening. I just sometimes I forget, and I'm sorry. Like, I just
For sure.
Yeah.
can't keep track of it all.
For sure.
Definitely not celebrities, so I don't want to be a celebrity.
No.
You guys
There
are
are 3 listeners.
Nothing
Two
good.
of them are on right now. One of
Nothing
them, anyway.
good.
I don't know. Warren listens. He probably doesn't.
Warren
I'm a
listens
new
once
listener.
or something.
I'm a new listener.
Warren doesn't listen to anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a long-time listener, first-time guest.
First time caller.
That's right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, all right, guys. We appreciate having you. We appreciate you guys coming on.
Sweet.
Well, hold on.
That's it?
When is Rad for Sale launch?
Aha.
That was part of my questioning that I was going to get to, Andrew, with the
All right.
finalizing, but that's okay. It's all
March
good.
1st. March 1st. Mark your calendars. It's coming. So when does this air? When does this episode air? Sunday, Monday?
It could be as early as tomorrow or in a couple of days or right before March 1st.
I'll probably drop it
Drop it, dude.
whatever Thursday is this week.
Okay.
Drop it, dude. Drop it hard.
Yeah, so
Drop it like it's hot.
in a couple
It's a
days.
limited release, limited drop.
A couple days. March
Get in line.
1st. March
We got to
1st.
drop this banger. Don't worry about it, all right?
Yeah. Radforsale.com.
March 1st, it's dropping.
Yeah. Radforsale.com. Come
Go
one.
check
come
it out.
on.
Sell your car, buy a car. We didn't even get to talk about any of the cars we're listing right at the beginning, but there is some kind of cool stuff, a
Okay.
nice variety.
You want to go into that? What's a couple cars you're excited to list right away? Other than the Dodge Colt, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Colt is super cool. It's actually been on a DWA rally. A friend of ours owns it. He's been to a couple of Radwoods. I don't know if he's been to them with that car, but yeah, super cool car. We have a Rabbit Caddy pickup truck with an LS, a V8, which is really
Rear-wheel
cool.
drive.
And then rear-wheel drive. And then on the flip side, we have a 944 Turbo Cup car from the Rothmans Cup Series up in Canada. I think it's like one of
that's
39 cars built. And that's a really cool car because it's in Reebok livery, which is like the most Radwood livery ever, basically. It's like fluorescence and it says Reebok all over it.
Is it the same livery as the Skyline race car was, the Group A car?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know the Skyline race car, but that sounds pretty rad. If I don't know, it would be rad if it had. I was thinking it would only be radder if it had like a big like pump on the back or something. You know, that would be super cool. And then we have a 944, a really nice gray on maroon 944 Turbo coming up the first week. What else, Warren?
We have Subaru Brat 1981 in driver condition, so that's a cool one. No reserve on that truck. We have a Kenny Roberts the last two-stroke Yamaha motorcycle. It's a Kenny Roberts edition. Pretty sweet bike.
Is that a YSR 500?
It is an RZ350. And
RZ350, okay.
Yeah, and it's got the yellow and black block graphics. Really cool bike. So that's another thing. Motorcycles are totally welcome. And we actually have a couple, not only at launch, but a couple that are coming out right after that. And what else are we forgetting? There's a 911, a commemorative edition 911, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And some other goodies. Yeah, so it's all kind of coming together here, but that'll just be the stuff that's available initially. And then as we open submissions, we've kind of done like a soft launch for submitting cars and kind of just reached out to partners and friends for that. But as the site is fully live here in the beginning of March, yeah, bring it on. Well, can't wait to see what is out there. And
we'll start ramping up.
Yeah, exactly. Start ramping up. So, yeah, we're stoked. Thank you very much for letting us ramble about it, and I hope your listeners check it out.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, and
Excellent.
by the way, I'm looking at that Nissan Skyline. It's R32, the Reebok.
Yes.
Different livery. The 944 Cup car is way radder.
Okay.
It's like fluorescent yellow and I don't even know. It's way crazier, where this is way more constrained.
Well, I look forward to seeing it on March 1st. So
yeah.
Excellent.
Well, thanks for having us on, guys. It was awesome.
Absolutely. Where can they find you guys online if they want to look for you, other than radforsale.com?
Oh, yeah.
You can Rad for Sale on the Instagram.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Radwood Official on Instagram. And then Warren?
Driving While Awesome on Instagram. That's a good one. And then I'm at Viewology if you want to, DM me Mighty Max upgrades or, things like that. And Lane's at Lane Skelton Design. What is that your Instagram handle now?
That is my Instagram handle.
Lane Skelton.
Oh, yeah. I got a, I didn't tell you, my mom loved that picture. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Lane did I didn't talk about the podcast because my mom listens to the podcast, so I didn't want to talk about it before Christmas because I would have ruined the surprise. But Brad found her a 79 Beetle in Arizona. So it was all rust free. It was originally a California car, then it went to Arizona. And I guess the guy had it in his collection. It just kind of sat and he wanted to get rid of it. So my mom was looking for a Beetle because she had one many, many years ago. And she wanted a convertible. And my dad wanted a fuel injected one. So it's the last year fuel injected 79. It's like a super mint, like driver, like perfect driver. And she's like pre-pandemic, like all that summer she got it. She was driving all over the place. And then Lane made this really cool render of it. And I put it in a nice frame. So she's going to hang it up somewhere in her house. Yeah.
Yeah, I was stoked on that one too. And 79 VW Bug convertibles are that's a pretty desirable car, actually. Those have been desirable for a long time too, because they are very drivable.
They're definitely the most expensive of all the late model Beetles. That's for sure.
Yes.
Again, another our auto topic advice that we gave to them was my parents were like, well, maybe we should buy a new Beetle because they're discontinuing them, and we're like, no, don't do that because they're not going to be worth. You're going to spend all that money on it. It's not going to be worth that much money in 5 years.
Yeah.
If you buy an old Beetle, it'll be worth at least what you paid for it, if not more.
Yep.
And you'll enjoy it more because it's way cooler.
Yeah.
So much more sense of occasion in that thing. That thing is pure sense of occasion with that chirpy little flat 4, and it's yellow. It's super cool.
Yeah, I picked it up out here and I drove it, probably 20 or 30 miles, and I didn't want to put it on the truck.
I know, it's so fun.
I wanted to keep it.
It's super fun to drive.
That's cool. Did you take it Lily? She calls it Lily? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
A grandma car.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
So
nice, dude. And she's from the era where everyone could drive a manual transmission, so it's all good.
Yep.
That's cool.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Appreciate the time.
Thanks for having you guys. We'll have to have you on DWA soon.
Yeah, we'd love that.
Someday.
Yeah,
someday when we're out there.
Again.
Or you can call in. We do that now.
Yeah.
We'll have you.
We'll be less gun shy this time because it won't be so surprised when we come on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We're
for sure.
hardened podcasters now.
I know.
Yeah.
I know exactly. Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Good
cool.
to talk to you.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
So,
Bye.
as always, keep your cars analog and aim for the roses.